Welcome to Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets here on the Moody Network. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell to walk through April 13th NHL action. DJ, we're after the trade deadline. How are you feeling on this Tuesday as we look through the 6 games ahead of us?
Well, I decked the halls, if you will, with all my Taylor Hall stuff he has passed on to the other side.
Look,
you know I had to do it. You know I had to do it.
I gave you crap the second you bought that jersey that you're wearing right now, and I never once for a second regretted that. I'm mocking you. So,
it was one of those things where like the reverse retros come out, and I wanted to get one for sure because I love jerseys. And I was like to my roommate, I was like, "What are you gonna get?" Because I'm thinking Hall, and he's like, "Let's just both get a Taylor Hall." I was like, "Yep, got to do it, no doubt in my mind, just a no doubter." And then Taylor Hall expected to re-sign with Buffalo after the season. I'm like, "Oh, what a purchase! What a great buy!" It was not.
No, it did not. Yeah, it did not work.
You just want to start right there with the trade.
We could talk about some trade deadline stuff. Before we do that, I do want to mention Prize Picks. They are the presenting sponsor of the show, so obviously, big thanks to Prize Picks. Be sure to check them out. Support the show, support Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com. Use promo code MMN when you sign up. It's pretty simple what you do over there. Once you do sign up, you pick up to 5 players. They're over or the under on their fantasy score. NHL, you even can pick single stats, so shots on goal and saves for goalies. Always fun to get involved with those. And, you're just sitting there, you look at the board, and if you like the over, you pick the over. If you like the under, you pick the under. You're not competing against, thousands of other people. You're not competing against thousands of, simulations and all that. It's just you versus the board. So it's definitely a lot of fun there. You can even do cross sports. So, for example, you really like an MLB pitcher, an MLB hitter, you like an NHL, a goalie, and you like an NHL skater. There's 4 guys right there. You just, tip. There's your Prize Picks entry. You win up to 10x if you pick all 5 correctly in your entry. So use promo code MMN when you sign up to get up to a 100%, $100 match deposit bonus. So, DJ, that's Prize Picks. Now let's talk about some of the NHL action that went down on Monday. So, I guess we can just start with Taylor Hall, given your jersey, but there's a lot of other stuff to talk about as well.
Oh, yeah. The Taylor Hall trade, I think, will get the most negative press against Buffalo. Maybe any team in any deal, I think the Sabres are going to come out looking maybe the worst with that return. But, in retrospect, I think we're going to look back on it and realize that it is a rental in a condensed season. Maybe the Bruins find a way to re-sign Taylor Hall. Who knows? But no guarantee there. The Sabres were kind of strapped to where they could send him. Obviously, with Canada being what it is right now, that would have, hurt his upside going across the border. And he even admitted to the fact that he used his ability with his no trade movement to get where he wanted to go. So I'm not sure if I'm willing to just jump on the Sabres making the worst deal of the deadline bandwagon that I think so many have jumped onto. I don't know if Anders Bjork is anything to, hold up as a great piece coming back. I don't know if he's a downgrade from Curtis Lazar in any variety. He might be a minor upgrade, but pretty similar, comparable type of player. Mm-hmm. He is friends with Jack Eichel. Maybe he convinces him to stay. I don't know.
The old Danny O'Regan, Evan Rodriguez. Yeah. How'd those work out?
They worked out great. The Sabres are good.
Yeah. One other spot. They're not on what we're going to talk about game by game wise, but Columbus's work. Getting offing David Savard and Nick Foligno, getting 2 firsts plus in return for those guys. Jarmo Kekalainen, right there. There's sort of been this is Torts done or is it Kekalainen going? If the ownership has any idea what they're doing, my God, that's how you manage your assets right there. Getting first rounders this year for those 2 guys. So I definitely did like the work that Jarmo did. And, given the decor that they have to build around Ferensky, who sadly is out for the year, and Seth Jones, they could come back next year with Bjorkstrand, Laine, Hexay looks real good. I mean, they have Domi. Like they have the pieces there to maybe come back better, use those picks, positively, and truly sort of retool, like Yarmo said. But I did really like their trade deadline.
Yeah, after a couple of years of them really selling off a lot of their picks. I mean, they had the one draft they didn't pick like the fourth round, so they need to start retooling that prospect pool, and I think they did a great job. Again, just getting all of the value they possibly could have out of those two guys, and giving them to two teams that are definitely in need of a guy or a piece or two to get them into the Stanley Cup contention. So good on both of them at their ends. As far as fantasy relevance is concerned, there might have been no bigger trade than the Anthony Mantha deal, which is a part of the slate. Going from the Red Wings to the Capitals, probably the biggest surprise of anything else. Didn't really see that one coming. The Red Wings, they receive back Jacob Vrana, who has been a guy we've talked about before. Richard Panik, more of a depth piece, and then the cap consideration probably there more than anything else. A first round pick and a second in 2022. So that is good return for a guy that has, I still think, 30 goal upside in the right situation. He's hit high 20s twice, one of them in a bit of a shortened season for him. So there's a chance that could really work out well for the Capitals, as well as it could, totally dud, especially because Vrana is a pretty good prospect in his own right. Any thoughts there or any other deals you want to get to quickly before?
Vrana's been a darling because he has one of the best primary point rates at 5-on-5 of any forward. And it's just the problem with him has always been like he's just not playing minutes. So I don't know. I want to think, Washington got screwed, like Stevie Y did it again. But I don't know. I just kind of trust the Capitals at this point. I really think that, Mantha could step in and just be an absolute force. I mean, look at their top six wingers going into the playoffs. I mean, you're talking Ovechkin, Oshie, Mantha, Tom Wilson. Like, oh my God, you do not want to go into the corners with those guys. You're going to be banged up. So if they're looking to play, that's skilled but strong type hockey. That's a really good look, I think, for the Caps. And, we don't know how exactly they're going to use those guys, but we can talk about that as we go through the games. So let's kick things off on the 6-game slate here, talking about Buffalo at Boston. Obviously, we mentioned Taylor Hall from the trade perspective, but, just from a player, like how does he impact the Bruins perspective? How does Taylor Hall move the needle for you, or does he at all?
I definitely think he moves the needle a little bit. I think what Taylor Hall has done so well in his career is his ability to transition the offense, take the puck into the offensive zone, which with the Krejci line, I think is going to be really nice. I think Nick Ritchie has been such a great shot taker for them and really has put up some pretty big shot on goal numbers that if they can continue to let him be that guy, if Taylor Hall can move the puck down the ice and get him into good positions and use the playmaking ability of Krejci to, kind of be the guy to find the right spot and get it over to Ritchie or the defenseman as long as they come back. That could be really useful for them. I mean, Boston has always been so strong with their secondary scoring that this year when it kind of fell off the map a bit, they've struggled. I mean, they're not the same Brewers team we're used to at the top of the division. So yeah, I think it works out really nicely for them. It's definitely a great addition. Like how often can you get a Taylor Hall? Very, very seldomly. And you also take Curtis Lazar and you give up a second and a guy that you're kind of, that wasn't always a starter for them, pretty regular in the lineup, not always. You'll take that going down the stretch here.
So my dad a few years ago got a car that was a new car, but it was used because it fell off of the truck when it was being loaded into the new, the car dealership. Literally fell off the truck and they had to sell it as used because it fell off. It's kind of what you're getting in Taylor Hall. You're not quite getting the full thing, but you should be getting, a recent MVP. He just kind of fell off the truck a couple of years in a row. And, I don't know. I from the Bruins perspective, I just wanted to see them get a defenseman. Like, come on, you give up 8 to
like Riley.
Okay, he's kind of a forward. Like, let's be real.
No, I know.
But just like it made sense to me to almost sort of try to replace Chara. With a stay-at-home sort of stodgy type guy, they just don't really seem to have much on their blue line. So on Tuesday night, we're looking at Boston minus 330, Buffalo plus 255. We do not know the status of Charlie McAvoy or Matt Grzelcyk at this point. But if both of those guys are out and this line does not move, by the way, I'm anticipating both those guys are out. Boy, plus 255 on Buffalo, awfully enticing. I think there's a lot to like about the way the Sabres are playing right now. They look fine. They look like they're actually somewhat competent offensively. Olmark has been a revelation in net, as we sort of expected he would be coming back, but he's just been solid, and this team looks competent again. And plus 255 for any team in this league, but particularly one, that is going against a team that is icing the likes of Jack Acan, Steven Kampfer, like guys who literally aren't even NHL players. You couldn't convince me that they were, 3-4 months ago. I just think that the Sabres make for a great money line bet. What are your thoughts there? Or maybe even a puck line?
Yeah, I think the puck line is a little bit stronger. I could definitely see the scenario of a 3-2 game here. If Boston can keep it out of their net, which I don't think they're going to get pumped by 8 goals again to the Buffalo Sabres. So I really like the puck line for the Sabres here at plus 106 as we're recording. I would really like to say I'd like the under. I'm not sure if I'm going to get there just because of how porous that defense is for Boston. If they don't get anyone back, that Buffalo could conceivably put up 2 goals and Boston could get an empty netter and make it 4. And now all of a sudden you're kind of holding the bag when even though you kind of processed it correctly, Boston just doesn't have the defense to slow down even these pretty, not good Sabres lines. That's kind of the way I see this, is like a slight leaning to the under and the puck line for the Sabres, and then just I'm not touching the minus 330 Bruins or whatever it's going to end up being. That's not going to happen, and I'm not going to parlay the Sabres, so just be putting some money on the Sabres, which I just refuse to do. Other than that, though, I think that the one player to score odd that I'm pretty in on is Tage Thompson. He's not in the first power play, but he has actually been, and if you look at just this slate of players, he is a top 10 guy as far as iCourse per 60 in the past 10 games. Right up there with likes of Zibanejad and Panarin over the last 10. As far as, again, shots kind of just taken in general, you get a guy with these kind of odds with a playmaker of Casey Biddlestad, who has really come on as of late, actually been the goal scorer more or not. I think either of those two, Casey at plus 390 and Tage at plus 460 are pretty fair bets to take.
Yeah, you are rarely going to see a guy with the just straight up shot projection that Tage Thompson has for this game at such long of odds to score. So I do think that's a great value bet. You're probably not finding shot props on him, anywhere. But if you do, I absolutely, think that those are very much in play. We've been seeing Olofsson, 2.5 at like plus 140s lately. If you can find one of those numbers, I would definitely lap it up. I think that, he looks slightly better, playing next to Reinhart and Skinner. So Olofsson is pretty interesting. Obviously, the power play next to Dahlin, that's a big part of it as well. So I kind of like those two guys. As far as, the big guns from Boston, they did reunite Pastrnak, Bergeron, Marchand. So to me, it's sort of like you're either playing all of them in DFS or you're just not really going there. And you're taking, say, a one-off of Taylor Hall or something like that. Because we're not expecting Hall to be on the top power play. I just don't think – I think there's other spots I want to spend a ton of money on this slate. So I don't really think Boston is really all that intriguing to me. And maybe that comes back to bite me. But I think we can move on from here unless you had anything else.
I mean, the one DFS note that if we don't mention, I feel like we'll be doing a disservice is that Jack Acan, I know you mentioned him as not really an NHL player. He did play on the first power play unit last game, though. He's 23, a smaller build, 5'8" defenseman. You could see a scenario where he has some good offensive upside. He was the captain of St. Cloud in 2020 and 25 points. And then in the AHL has 8 points in 14 games this year, kind of getting his first taste of a full pro season of hockey. By no stretch is he a clear-cut guy that's an NHL player right now. He's not, but he's seeing the minutes and he's playing with guys that you just mentioned in the perfection line and the power play. So him to get a point, you're not going to find that bet, but if he gets a point in DFS, he's 2.5.
Yeah.
So right. If the Bruins score a power play goal, it's, it could happen. So I feel like we got to mention that note and then we can move on.
Yeah. I mean, we could always see David Krejci come back to to quarterback that unit too. Like we just don't really know. That's part of the problem with me. So all right, let's go over to Philly at Washington. Washington minus 155 here, over under 6.5. So boy, a lot of the goals are going to be coming from this game. Every other game tonight, 5.5. So right away, I still kind of like the over there. I love this Washington side, and I think that the Philly side is, just as likely to put up some goals here. So I do like Washington money line. Minus 155 just seems too long of odds. We did get an indication that Anthony Mantha should play on Tuesday night. Apparently he's driving from Detroit to Washington, so he should be good to go. I don't know. I just really like this Washington team at the moment as currently constructed. It seems like Backstrom's playing at his peak. Ovi obviously looks great. Kuznetsov is putting up numbers. Even Lars Eller, he helped TJ Oshie get a hat trick. Like you're talking 3 lines that are potent, and you're talking, a Philly side that, a loss aside to the Sabres has been, putting up numbers offensively as well. So give me the over here and give me the Washington side. What are your thoughts?
I agree with that. I do think it's going to teeter down to a 6 by the time you're listening to this, but we'll see where it ends up. But I'm very in on the over here. This is a game stack I'm definitely going to have in DFS, and the shot props I'm going to be taking are Konechny and Ovechkin. I'm going to be having a lot of exposure to this game and betting not only in DFS but in the sports books for multiple reasons. I think there's a lot of good pace in this game and a lot of upside for the scores to really take flight here. So guys that I kind of like, Konechny at plus 250 to score. He's really coming back to that form that we mentioned before the season started. We thought he'd be a primary shot taker. He's finally doing it. So I want to get in on it before he kind of gets back to those elite levels where I think he should be. 250 isn't the craziest odds in the world, but I think he's a much better shot of scoring than Giroux and others in this little range here. So I like it a lot, but definitely the shot props are a lot easier. And then the Washington side, I'm pretty in on as well. The Flyers goaltending has just been not there, non-existent, and I'm not going to bet on that to show up here against the Capitals at home.
Yeah, Ovi plus 100 to score. I'm betting that he has scored in each of the 4 games this year against the Flyers. He had 10 shots on goal last game. 10, like 1-0. That's a huge number. He didn't even score in that one. So, I just, like it should be minus. Like I get it. It's plus 100, 50-50 to score. But honestly, I think you should be like at least minus 120 or whatever, like David Pastrnak is. So I really like Ovechkin here on that goal prop. So give me that. Like you said, Konechny on the Flyers side, he seems resurgent. So definitely in on his props when you can find them. And that's about it. I know I've been in on the Provorov over shots on FanDuel. I found that a lot at 2, and it's been, right around even. So I'm in on that if you can find it as well, though. It is worth noting that the Giroux-Voracek duo kind of got separated from Provorov recently. So, in DFS, you're looking at Gostisbehere with Konechny and Giroux-Voracek on that power play. So just some notes and some of our favorite thoughts from that game. Anthony Mantha, we're thinking he suits up next to Nick Backstrom, but he's 4.8 on this slate. Like, is he a guy you're looking to take a flyer on? I'm sort of thinking Nick Backstrom, but how do you think he fits into this lineup?
Yeah, taking a flyer against the Flyers. Yeah, I do really. Oh, no, I like Mantha here. If he plays at 4,900, I think that he's a guy that we could really see a jump. The big drawback is I doubt he gets in the first power play unit in his first game.
Never. I don't think he ever plays there. Yeah, but
yeah. So at 4,900, you are getting a guy that's going to be maybe making his debut, which it's good narratively, but I don't know if there's like the math to back it up entirely here. But playing with Backstrom, he could end up taking like 5-6 shots on goal here and really making do with it. So it's a tough call. I don't know if I'm going to have it. I almost would rather take Hall at the same price, but either or, they're fine.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. I think he plays alongside Backstrom. I think he could even replace Daniel Sprong and just play with Sherry, who had the outstanding game on Sunday. So that's an area where I think you could take advantage and be first, basically, to like rather than wait and see, be aggressive with it. But I do think, him and Taylor Hall are obviously fitting that mold. So let's go from there into the Rangers at New Jersey game. If you told me one of these games was a 5.5 or a 6.5 on this slate, I would have said Rangers at Devils. Frankly, I don't understand why the total is only 5.5. So I'm all over that over. I really like it. As far as the sides go, minus 175 for the Rangers on the road versus the Devils plus 150. That's a bit of a toss-up for me at the moment. We don't have much clarity on the status of either Pavel Zacha, who left over the weekend with an injury, did not return, nor the status of Nico Hischier, who is slated to return, but we don't really know where and what context. Is he, fully good to go, or is this we just don't really know much about the situation. So my inclination is to lean with the plus 150 odds on New Jersey. But my favorite bet from this game is absolutely the over. So what are your thoughts on the Rangers at Devils?
Honestly, I really like the Rangers side here a lot. Like, I'm honestly considering the Rangers puck line, which is a risk I'm not sure if I'm going to end up taking entirely here, but I just don't see who's going to score for these Devils. Let's just say Zacha's out. Let's just say Hischier is out, especially. Who's scoring? I mean, Jack Hughes, okay. Who? Sharangovich, I think.
Miles Wood. Yeah, Sharangovich, you did it. Nice job, dude.
Yeah, thank you. I honestly one of the better shot takers on this entire slate. But I just don't trust the Devils to find a way to get too many goals. I'm very in on the starter for the Rangers in net. I don't know on the over/under. If it's 5.5, I'm going to be thinking about it. But I almost would rather just kind of ride my lineups to the Rangers goalie one, and hopefully it's Shesterkin, but if it isn't, I could be talking to Georgiev as well, and not worrying too much about what the Devils are doing or not doing, just playing some Rangers and moving on. And I think the Rangers are, kind of one of the better up and coming teams in the league. And I think they're figuring out more and more as the year goes on. And as players are getting this professional experience together, I know Panarin just put up an absolute 0 last time out, but I could see him bouncing back here. Against not the Islanders, but the Devils seems like a better matchup to me.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So only other kind of, I guess, notes or things that we should get to, and I don't want to say his name wrong, and I don't know if I really love the bet, but Matt, I'll pass it to you. Who was playing this time with Zibanejad and Buchnevich?
Are you talking about Vitaly Kravtsov?
Kravtsov. It's got to be, yeah. It's such a weird thing to do, the VT. Kravtsov, yeah, but he was playing with them. He played 13 minutes, all 5-on-5, so no power play time at all. Minimum salary on daily fantasy over on DraftKings, so maybe he's plus 300 to score. But he is kind of profiled to be maybe a shot taker. We're not really sure yet because there's really not a ton of hard analytics from the Russian league, so I don't know. But
I don't read Russian, so tough to find out.
But in the past few games, he's definitely had enough shots for me to start to consider that, Zibanejad could be setting him up. I think too early to tell, probably not going to be jamming him in myself, but definitely wanted to get to that. Other than that, here, are there any props you want to get to?
Yeah, if you want to, sorry to say the word flyer again, given the slate, but if you want to flyer on this slate as far as the goals are concerned, I mean, I guess Colin Blackwell is a bit priced up at plus 200, but if you are as in on the Rangers as you're saying, if Panarin has a game, Strome is a passer, Panarin's a passer. Blackwell's been pretty damn good lately. So, it's really tough to stomach that, or plus 205. But you might find a better line on other books, for one. And two, his price on DraftKings is still right around the 3K mark. He is far too cheap. He's getting second power play time. I just don't see a need to take a stab on a guy like Kravtsov. When, yes, he should be a very good player, but so should have, Lafreniere and Capo Caco. Sometimes it just takes time. And what we're seeing with Blackwell is just he's already doing it for whatever reason. Rochester American's Own last year, Colin Blackwell. He's just been putting it up night in, night out. And I think as long as he sticks with that Panarin line, he's really good. So that's sort of where I'm limiting my deep dives here on this in this game.
That's fair. That's definitely very fair. I mean, I think more or less, if I'm doing a lot of props here, I'll do a multi-point game from one of these Rangers. Just the Devils moving out so much, I think that they're gonna, there could be a good amount again. So getting like a multi-point Panarin or a multi-point, even
Yep,
Brian Strome, honestly, might be the way I go about this. But Kravtsov as
probably just
intriguing, but not 16 goals last year in the Russian league. So yeah, it could be good in the future. But we can move on unless there's any other news or notes you want to say in this game.
No, I mean PK Subban suffered a gnarly cut to his leg.
Oh God!
If you look that up,
I hate stitches. I don't know if anyone cares, but like when I see stitches, I get very not happy in the stomach. They gross me out so much.
Yeah. So he should be good to play though. Like he got stitched up and returned over the weekend.
He said he didn't miss a minute. That was like his tweet. Like didn't miss a second.
So, good for him. But would expect him to play and all that. And he's been, fine, but he's a bit pricey in DFS. So I don't really know what I want to do with that. So let's go over to Calgary at Toronto. I mean, we could start with saying, Toronto minus 240, over under 5.5. But really, I just want to talk to you about the Church of Austin Matthews because it was just a few weeks ago we were saying like, oh, his wrist is hurt and he's not going to do very good. But you know what? He's really good. He's back at it better than ever. I am just jamming him in DFS here. There's really, him and Ovechkin are the two jams in my opinion. He has a 5-game goal streak going. Austin Matthews does. So I don't really want to play the hand grenade game of which Leafs team shows up, the one that gives up a ton of goals or the team that just trounces everyone in Canada. So I don't really know what to do there, but this game feels like an over to me. 5.5, Calgary struggling to score. But we should be seeing a Toronto goalie not named Jack Campbell, which has been a good recipe for success. So I think that this game goes over and I really like Austin Matthews. So any thoughts on the sides here? Are you taking Calgary at plus 195 or anything else?
I'm not taking Calgary. That's an easy stay away from me. Even though everything in my gut, like how you do this is like, oh, Toronto's on a back-to-back and all that. I'm just not doing it. Calgary seems to be dead. I'm pretty sure it's a done deal there. They traded off some assets and I'm just not going to that well. I'd rather just take the over, I think, and move on. Like you mentioned, we're probably not getting Campbell and anyone else in that. Even though, ironically, Rittich was the guy that was traded over to Toronto, coming over from the Flames.
Forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's actually really funny.
Yeah, I have no idea if he's going to play or not. I'm not sure if we have any indication quite yet on that front. I know Freddie Anderson won't be playing.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think he could be available.
Hey, if it's Rittich, they know where to shoot.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I think that I like the over more than anything else here. Just get the over. I think that Calgary could find a couple goals and Toronto could put 5 up without too much of a struggle. So I definitely like that. I love the Martyrs Matthews. I'm going to have that a lot in DFS. Other than that, I'm not sure if there's a ton of equity you're going to find in these props. Like the Matthews one is going to be pretty tough to stomach the pricing on, but I think you could do it. Other than that, is there one guy on Calgary that maybe I'm overlooking or – I don't think I talk myself into any of their props.
Like, I just really think that they're so underpriced here. I mean, Mark Giordano looks like he's back on the top power play unit. He's 7-1 to score a goal. He has 3 goals in his last 10 games. Like, 7-1 for a guy in the top power play against a back-to-back Leafs team starting maybe a goalie that Giordano's been shooting on for the last 5 years. Like, I don't know. Like, sign me up for that, I feel like. And, DFS is a whole different story because, we're talking about Johnny Gaudreau at 4,500. Sean Monahan at 4,300. I think I side with the Gaudreau because as of last game, they're playing with Gaudreau. They're playing Gaudreau with Lindholm and Matthew Tkachuk, but they are just loading up their top line. They're loading up those 3 guys on the top power play with Giordano. And either, Monahan or Rasmus Anderson. We're not too sure. Last game was a bit of a weird game given they won 5-0 against the Oilers. But I don't think that Calgary wins this game outright. But man, I really think this game is, going to be a showdown as far as, up and down tempo. We don't get that much from the Flames, but I think that Toronto could bring it out of them. So I like the over here a lot, and I do like a lot of these Flames pieces.
Yeah. I think this is game stackable for the reasons you just said.
Yep. And last piece that I wanted to mention, and then you can close out any thoughts. Alex Galchenyuk has been playing with Marner and Matthews. Of course, they did the thing where they lost on Monday. So those lines could go in a blender. We saw both Wayne Simmons and Joe Thornton on the top power play on Monday with Matthews, Marner, and Riley. So this game's a 7:30 start. If you're playing DFS, we're not going to know until like 7 on the nose whether Galchenyuk's on that top line or whether it's a Wayne Simmons who's been there before, a Joe Thornton who's been there before, and their top power play guys. I think you should leave some spots in your lineups to just see, Matthews with Simmons, Matthews with Thornton, and you're getting guys in GPPs who should be, if they are on that line with Matthews, 15, 20% owned. You'll get them basically unowned, I feel like. So just keep an eye out there and maybe take a flyer on a guy like Wayne Simmons at plus 310 to score. He's the net front guy. He's the grinder, and if he's playing on the top line, even better. So I do like Wayne Simmons just specifically for his goal prop.
No, I think that's a good spot to end it on. And we can move on to the second to last game of the night. And as you mentioned, that the Toronto game is the lone 7:30. The 8 o'clock game, Tampa Bay at Nashville. So I think a lot of people might rush to this Tampa Bay line at minus 165, but Tampa Bay's been pretty, back to earth, or I don't know, like human as of late.
They're bad for their standards.
Weird.
That's right.
I'm not going to say this game's a stay away. I'm just not touching a single shot on goal prop from any Lightning forwards until they just stop telling all their defensemen to be the only ones that shoot. Like it's been very frustrating. So Tampa Bay seems like they're going to be all without Stamkos. That sounds like it's not a 1,000% lock, but almost. So their lines were very weird last game. I don't know how much I want to cover it because we don't know what they're going to be doing here. They played Nashville last time out, correct? And they won 3-0. That was last game, right?
Yeah. And then Nashville played. Wait, no.
Yep.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. They did. I'm sorry. I'm looking at UC Saros' game logs, and I'm like, wait, what? But that's because Pecorine played that game.
Anyways, though, so the lines for Tampa were Yanni Gourde with Gaudreau, Coleman that actually led their 5-on-5, but that's just because they won 3-0. So line 1 being Cirelli, Point, Palatz, which all actually correlated on the first power play. But as I know, we talked about the Morning Skate pod, we're not positive about Cirelli being there on that first power play unit. That seems like it's still could be Killorn's spot. Killorn was with Tyler Johnson and Matthew Joseph, and then they had the 2-man Maroon and Colton, Ross Colton, automatic goal scorer down there, kind of shaping up the 11-7 that they ran. So with all that being said, what are your thoughts on this game in general? Obviously, Nashville also a ton of injuries and other things going on, but what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, if all of that wasn't enough to just scream stay away from you, how about this? In his last 10 games, UC Saros, we're expecting him to start, has a 959 save percentage.
He's good.
Like, I mean, this is otherworldly at this point. And, I don't want this to be the night that I go all in on Nashville and, Saros comes back to earth, or, I go all in on Saros and, hey, by the way, Tampa's going to score 8 goals and, end your night early. So this game's, like you said, scream stay away. I don't really have a sense on the over or the under. None of these neither of these two sides really stand out to me. Just the underlying numbers are pretty meh for both of the teams. So yeah, I mean, for that reason, I think I'm out. David Savard could be a good ad. He's playing alongside Hedmans. Apparently he's going to be pretty cheap over on the old fantasy sites. So if you want some block shots, you should get them for very cheap. You should see a lot of minutes there. So I don't know, just a guy who I don't even know if we need to talk about the fact that they got a first rounder for him,
Yeah.
but just he's noteworthy, but probably doesn't move the needle for me in any particular manner.
Tampa's all in again, as they should be. But yeah, I think that this game is, I like the under, if anything, probably more of a stay away. And then on the DFS angle on this, there's two very cheap defensemen that I think are very in play. Sergachev was on that first power play. He's also just been shooting a ton. A lot of really good, a ton, and blocking a ton. I mean, he's been a really, really good DFS asset. It's a 5K. I think that that's very fair. And then Ryan Ellis at 4,200 coming back from the injury, getting, kind of like maybe testing the waters with 19 minutes and then right back to 24 with the goal. He's just an awesome, awesome player. Both of those guys are still very much in play. I don't think you need to go crazy with stacking. It's a 6-game slate. Maybe you want to get a piece with one of them, but I don't know if it's entirely necessary to still consider them as one-offs on defense.
Yeah, no, I love both those guys as well. They seem to be perfect sort of mid-range defensemen on a slate that I don't think you're too hard pressed to full punt on defense. But I like both, and I'm not really sure how you maybe flip a coin, just pick between Sergachev and Ellis because they're sort of both in play for the same reasons. So let's get over to the last game of the night. Florida at Dallas. Florida minus 110 spot here. So Dallas, basically a pick 'em for this Dallas team that is 15, 14, and 11, and a Florida team that is 26, 12, and 4. That's definitely saying something about this Dallas team, how they've underperformed so far this year. But I don't know. I think I'm just going to keep riding this Florida side. So give me Florida on the road, minus 110. I'll take that all day. Over under, I think I'll pass. 5.5 seems like a fair number. Definitely not my favorite game of the night from a DFS perspective, but I think there are a lot of avenues to it absolutely exploding as well. So any immediate thoughts on those two things?
Maybe I'm a little bit stronger on the under than you are, but I definitely like the Florida side a lot. That just seems like a really weird line to give. I mean, Dallas just beat them 4-1 recently, but I don't know. I'm not going to put too much stock into that. Florida's big problem has been their defense. They've kind of just spread out the minutes to 7 guys that are not great. But hopefully, with the additions coming on Thursday of Montour, was there another defenseman?
They got so many guys. Is Lucas Carlson a defense? I don't think he is. I think he's a forward.
We should know this.
I mean, please listen in the comments. Yell at us for not. Tell us everything you know about Lucas Carlson.
I looked up Lucas Carlson, and I thought it with a K, and that's a Swedish handball player.
Oh,
not
nice.
The guy we want. So this is Lucas Carlson.
Maybe there's a prize pick.
A defenseman. He's a defenseman. Yeah, I know, right? He is a defenseman. So
okay, cool.
They did add another guy. I thought he was. When you weren't sure, I'm like, let me double check. Yeah, 23-year-old defenseman. He was playing on the Blackhawks. Was it a trade or did he get waived? They got waived.
He was part of the trade. They sent Stillman and
okay.
Hinostroza, maybe. No, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. At some point, all these trades just
they're
pretty irrelevant.
What's most important here, and the most important thing in this entire game is Barkov, who is an unbelievably great player in his own right, and his line mates. If I told you who played the most 5-on-5 minutes in the last game against Dallas, and you said Marchment, you would be correct.
They just love him. It's so great because I love
21 minutes. But Barkov had 22 and Verhaeghe had 20. Verhaeghe did play on the first power play with Barkov, Hornqvist, Huberdeau, and Yandel. Marchment on the second unit. So, man, is it a enticing first line to take? I'm pretty in on it myself, even though I don't like this over. But I do think that Barkov could go for 2 goals and an assist and 1 to Verhaeghe or Marchment or something, and you just got that right first line that I don't think is overpriced. Are you going to be able to get Ovechkin and Matthews? Nope. If you're committing to that bit, you might only get one of them. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm very in on that myself.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Barkov, Verhaeghe, and Marchment line. almost want to say the Robertson Hintz duo, if you're looking to bet player props, offer more value than those guys, though, which is crazy. I think there is just a lot of value on those guys in particular. Rupe Hintz plus 280 to score has been a man on a mission. Like, I mean, maybe his mission is just to prove that he's not hurt and that we should stop saying he's day to day. I don't know. But man, is he putting up points? Is he just doing everything you want to see from him? He is an explosive playmaker. He's dynamic with the puck on his stick, and he's, obviously putting the puck in the net as well this season with 13 goals in 29 games. So, like, I think that plus 280 for him is just, I think that's a great value. And Jason Robertson at plus 250, he's been the more reliable sort of steady shot producer. So I love his shot props where you can find them. But yeah, I mean, there's, I think, just a lot of value in the top guys in this game. And especially on the Florida side, we've been dabbling in guys like Tippett and whatever. But if they bring in Sam Bennett, if they bring in Nikita Gusev, and those guys take up any sort of equity, I don't really think there's a lot to like among these depth pieces. So I guess that will, unless you had anything else here, I guess we can get right into our top bets for the night.
Yeah, just to bark off over on shots. I'm probably be hammering that in over 2.5. So be hammering that. But yeah, we can get over to our top bets. That might be one of them, honestly. But
yeah, the all brokenhearted parlay is absolutely in play here. Taylor Hall to score, Brandon Montour to score. Just put it in the books. Like, I guess you guys don't know our history of Brandon Montour, but we as Sabres fans were absolutely elated when they traded for Montour a few years ago. He was in Anaheim. He looked dominant during that playoff run Anaheim had on the top power play. And he was like one of my favorite players in the league. And I was just like, DFS every night playing him. And then the Sabres traded for him. And I'm like, oh my God, they're so sharp. Like, oh my God, like this is great. Didn't really work. Now he's going to leave. He's going to flourish. Taylor Hall, same deal. So absolute lock of the night. Taylor Hall, Brandon Montour to score, and DJ and Matt to cry.
I don't think Montour's going to play, but
that's true.
So you have to wait till Thursday to get this bet, but we'll be right back here talking about how it's going to happen. No,
we'll have our box of tissues ready.
If you make a bet and it'll make Sabres fans sad, you're guaranteed to hit. So I do agree with that. I think honestly, just a Taylor Hall hat trick is the way to go.
Fair. To outscore his Sabres production. All right. Top bets of the night. Here we go. My top bet, honestly, is this Rangers Devils over. I know it looks like on paper we don't know who's going to score for the Devils, and I kind of agree with that. I just feel like they're going to score. Like they've done enough offensively in the past to really show me that they are interested in playing the game of hockey, unlike maybe a team like the Flyers or the Sabres has shown us. And the Rangers are not good defensively. Like, we're not kidding ourselves in saying that they're just not very good. So I think the Rangers can get there on their own. They put up 5, you just need 1 from the Devils, and this could be a 4-3 game. So give me the over on the Rangers and Devils.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Washington minus 155 a lot. I just don't think that's right, especially with the addition of Mantha. Sounds like he's going to play. Yeah, just give me that. Philly lost a couple of pieces there. I just don't think that they're going to get it done with their goaltending in Washington with Ovechkin shooting. And you could just topple me in with Ovechkin shot prop over. If it's 4.5, if it's 7, I don't care. I'm jamming it.
I like the goal prop more than I like a shot prop on over, to be honest. But
that's fair.
I get it. Like both, anything Ovechkin is obviously something you don't have to convince me too hard of.
Nope.
All right. For my second one, let's do Matthews to score a goal. I was going to take Ovi, but you kind of stole the thunder there. And okay. I'm okay laying just laying the juice there. Matthews does have 5 goals against the Flames this year, and a couple of those games came during the time where, his little wrist was hurt. So I don't ding him too much for that. And yeah, I mean, he's playing like a man on a mission right now to just score goals. And whoever he plays with, I also like, but we just won't know that until puck drop. So yeah, give me Matthews to score.
All right. And with that, we'll go to our favorite stacks of the night. There's, 6 games here. So I'll just ask you quickly, does that make you more inclined to play a lineup that has multiple 3-man or 4-man stacks? Or do you think that it doesn't definitely matter? What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I mean, it does. And the reason being just it's just so much less likely that the one-off piece that you hit is going to be a one-off piece in other people's lineups as well. So for example, there's only 12 teams you can stack here. So if you get, four different pieces from four different teams to score goals, odds are almost all of those are going to be built around by other people who are going to capitalize on the assists. So I sort of am fine on bigger slates that we usually have to cover, sort of threading the needle, going, oh, I'll take a 2-man stack here. I'll correlate a defenseman there. But I'm not too over the moon, like especially in these like 100-man, 200-man fields in, actually correlating like hardcore. I think tonight you just kind of got to do it because there's only 6 games, these smaller slates. I just sort of think that's the correct way to go about things to win these top-heavy prize pools. So, for me, that means I'm kind of starting with, a top stack, be it the Toronto stack or the Washington stack. But I'm not really trying to take bits and pieces and then making it work. I'm more trying to get like a bunch of correlation off the top, and then I'll make the lineup work.
Okay, perfect. Glad I asked the right question because that I was hoping you'd say something of that nature.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, I'll just take one you just said in that Washington stack: Kuznetsov, Ovi, and Carlson. All three of them. I don't really know if I'm gonna dabble with Tom Wilson, but I could see a scenario of why you do it. But that's my first one.
All right. Yeah, I mean, let's build around our 7-1 goal scorer and Mark Giordano. And we'll just go to top line right now for Calgary, which is Elias Lindholm, Johnny Gaudreau, and Matthew Tkachuk. I have some reason to believe that Elias Lindholm at 5.3 could slightly overshadow or be overshadowed by Monahan at 4.3. So, we'll see what the optimizers, the projections out there are saying, but I do kind of think that people might just look at the Monahan price and overreact to that versus, taking into account the new lines in Calgary. But remains to be seen there. I just like all of those guys for their prices and do think they offer a ton of upside relative to those prices.
Okay, yeah, definitely great there. So I picked one that isn't the most expensive, but isn't a great value. I'm not sure if this is the best value in the world or not, but getting that Panarin, Strome, and Blackwell, I think is going to be another
Love it.
one of the staples. It's cheap enough, and I think it's a good price. And if they do stick together, which you never know, I mean they've moved Kako there and other guys, but I assume they'll probably stay together. So I'll have a piece of that.
Yeah, and give me a Toronto power play stack. Maybe you get creative here and leave off Mitch Marner. I think you should have some Mitch Marner if you play Matthews, but for the sake of this argument, let's go Matthews, Morgan Riley, and Wayne Simmons, and just think, Simmons is out there collecting the dirty garbage. He gets those rebound goals, whatever. And Matthews has, a typical Matthews night, and that gets you there. It also lets you pay up for one of these other stacks that you like as well without needing to force in Mitch Marner. So I like that for a bit of a unique twist to the classic Toronto look.
Yep. And with all that being said, goalie, like I think I'll have a lot of Shesterkin if he starts. We kind of skipped over that, but yeah, Shesterkin I think will be pretty strong. I think if you are dumpster diving for goalie, I don't know if that's gonna be the smartest call, but I could see a scenario where I include a Markstrom. Not that he's been unreal great or anything, but Toronto could end up having like 40 shots on net. And if that's the case on a back-to-back, if they just don't find the goals, he could win the slate. So that would probably be the two guys. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to talk myself into taking a Calgary goalie here, but the odds of them winning are not crazy. And I think that there's a chance that he could, smash in the right circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, same argument could go for Linus Olmark as well. I don't think I'll go there myself. I'm probably going to try to find the money for Vanacek or Samsonov, whoever starts. Despite it being a 6.5 over under, I just think there'll be a ton of shots there. So I might just ride that wave with Washington. But yeah, I mean, there are a number of solid goalies. I think we haven't even mentioned the Florida Dallas guys. And, that game could be a very classic, 2-1 with 30 shots each. And you're just looking for a handful more to get you that bonus that you're always looking for. So, Yeah, I mean, that's some goalie talk for you. So if you want more DFS specific talk, be sure to check out the Morning Skate podcast. That's always, we do that sort of in tandem with this show, I would say. We focus more on the betting here and some of the DFS, and we just go all in on the DFS principles and stuff over there. So if you're interested, be sure to find us there at Morning Skate Pod on Twitter and, on all your podcast apps or whatever. Yeah, there's a ton of other stuff going on with the Mayo Media Network. I'm sure, as you all know at this point, Pat posted stuff for this week's golf tournament. If you're hooked by the Masters, be sure to check out his stuff for this weekend as well. Should be another, fun encore to the Masters tournament. There's baseball, fantasy baseball picks and bets is up posting every single day. So, just be sure you're taking in all of what we have to offer here at the Mayo Media Network.
Yeah. Other than that, make sure you check out Prize Picks. I definitely cannot wait. I'm going to definitely plan on getting some money in there and visiting some of my friends out in Massachusetts or something soon, because I have been just pining for the opportunity to play. So if you're lucky enough to be in a state where you can, I think, we do all this research, and I know a lot of people that listen do research in multiple sports. And if you're not taking advantage of some Prize Picks, you're really missing out on a great opportunity. So check that out. Follow us on social media at DJ_Mitchell for myself, and at Big Moods. I did a full breakdown with one of my buddies on the trade deadline, which you can check out on my feed or on the Morning Skate podcast feed. I retweeted on both locations. Matt, is there anything else you want to mention?
Nope, that's it. So, again, big thanks to Prize Picks here, and good luck on Tuesday night, everybody. So we will see you.